As people reflect on the one-year anniversary of the war in Ukraine, many will remember the atrocities that happened here in Bucha, a village just on the outskirts of Kyiv. I met the woman who lived in this home when Russian soldiers arrived in the early days of the war. As you can see, the damage to her home, she still doesn't have a front door, no windows. On the roof up there, there's still a giant hole from the shelling. The front of her home here is still extensively damaged. She showed me photos of the moment a Russian tank arrived just here. She explained those terrifying moments when she came face to face with a Russian soldier in her own home.
I heard them jump out of tanks and move into the house. Ukrainians were trying to knock them out and everything was flying around the house while we were hiding. How do we feel now? Well, I feel the pain of loss. We saw everything that happened here. There were bodies outside. We saw everything. It was so scary.
Moscow's forces left this area in April, leaving civilians to assess what was left of their homes. You might remember this street just out here. There was a photo taken of burnt-out tanks lining the whole way. Well, things look very different 12 months on. As you walk down that street, you can hear the sound of chainsaws, of hammering, as people try to rebuild their homes and lives.
When we arrived, the neighbourhood was all ruined. Buildings needed to be taken down. When we finish the rebuild depends on the delivery of building materials, finance and labour. But the most important thing is nothing will fall from the sky. No more rockets.
Almost 1 year on, this community is trying to rebuild. But when you're here, you can feel that the memories of war will never be forgotten.
Isabella Higgins there. Well, let's bring in James Elder, who's the global spokesperson for UNICEF. He's joining me from the city of Lviv in the country's west. James, thanks so much for making time for us this morning.
Hi, good morning. Pleasure, Lisa.
James, you've been going in and out of Ukraine over the past year. What are your reflections as we mark this anniversary?
Oh, what a harrowing year, hey? It's a country soaked in sorrow and air raid sirens. Immense devastation, as your report just showed, across the country. The biggest, fastest displacement of people since World War II. That resonates. That means you've still got, more than 1 million dads whose children are outside the country, who haven't seen their wives in all that time. And even where I am here today, I'm in hospital seeing children with the very real wounds of war, with, shrapnel, and seeing what that does to a child's body. And of course, Lisa, the invisible wounds, all the trauma that the children of this country are suffering as their nation's still under attack. So immensely difficult year for the people of Ukraine, and no end in sight, but a lot of resolve.
It was so swift initially when those missiles first rained down, and then it has just been this grinding military action. I saw one Ukrainian say that the intent of Putin was to make them all tired and weary. Do you think Putin succeeded?
No. People aren't tired. I don't know how they keep going. But I speak to a lot of people, everyday mums, volunteers, doctors, and there is an energy and a drive, and they don't necessarily think of tomorrow. They just go with the same speed and zeal the next day. So from the anecdotal evidence, absolutely not. There is a fear, no doubt, but again, they push on. The fear has increased with the drone attacks. The drone attacks seem to be more accurate sometimes, as Ukrainians have said to me, as the missiles. These are some of the reasons why UNICEF reinforces bunkers and puts electricity in them to try and create safe spaces for children so they can go to school knowing there's a safe space below. So, no, look, there's an incredible determination of Ukrainians not to be exhausted by this. But it's been a long year, Lisa.
Given you're Australian, and we've just had this announcement by the government of more money, more sanctions against Russia, more military drones are being put up. Is there a sense that the people do feel supported by countries like Australia?
It's a great question. I think there's definitely a fear among Ukrainians that the world will change channels, but they're very tuned into the news. They will know when there's news like you're sharing right now, and people will discuss that. It'll be on social media, much less, of course, a visit from President Biden. So I think the more frequently this happens, and aid organisations like UNICEF across the country, people know they haven't been forgotten, but they have a genuine fear that people do get distracted. It's the same as UNICEF right now focusing on those children in Syria and Turkey after that horrendous earthquake, and the world moves on. This has a different resonance, of course, because it has implications way beyond this border. But Ukrainians, they have a concern that they are living this day in, day out, and they know that every now and then the West feels that, they're winning. I don't think Ukrainians ever wake up feeling they're winning, but they certainly wake up feeling they're going to keep fighting.